That was a tough one. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wayne Blue. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast after the Raptors suffer a 118 to 111 loss in overtime against the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte. The Raptors' 9-game win streak comes to an end. A frustrating one for sure. I'm definitely not like a finger pointing type of game, but at the same time, the Raptors had been on such a great streak of late, not just winning 9 in a row, but winning 13 in the last 14 prior to this loss. You had really developed a sense of like, you know what, there's a confidence in this team, there's an inevitability about this team, and honestly, that wasn't really challenged at the start of this game. I mean, Raptors jumped out 15-2 against the Hornets, causing the Hornets to call the first timeout. They keep doing that to their opponents. But then the Hornets, I got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, they played the Raptors right to the death at the last one. You remember that was the one where BI feeds RJ for the layup to go ahead, and then BI with the block at the rim, then Scottie with the block at the rim. But, I mean, that was also a 2-point game, right? And that took everything for the Raptors to come away with that one. And this one, I was a little surprised at how poorly the Hornets were playing. I mean, I know the Raptors came off of 2 days of rest, and the Hornets are playing second half of a back-to-back, but still, I was a little bit surprised at how easy it felt. And then I got to give a lot of credit to the Hornets head coach Charles Lee for actually benching star players. I mean, they have LaMelo Ball over there, didn't play at all in crunch time. And that includes the end of regulation, and that includes overtime as well. So like 10 minutes straight, at least, of just no LaMelo. I don't even know if I saw him at all in the fourth quarter, except for just kikiing on the bench with his teammates, with Mason Plumlee. Shouts to Mason Plumlee. That guy's been employed for a long time. I thought that Brandon Miller, and Miller, whatever, second overall pick, but just like was never really quite right in this one. Mostly jacking threes, and you didn't see most of him in crunch time. You did ultimately see him for one possession late where he threw a lob. And ended it, again, credit to him, I guess. But, they made some pretty big changes. They took away their starting center as well in Ryan Kalkbrenner, the rookie, who has been great so far to start the season. But they went to a different matchup with Moussa Diabate, who, I mean, as much as there were a lot of antagonizers in this one, and the Hornets, they have a habit of tripping up the Raptors. It's honestly, the better the Raptors are, the more painful it is when the Hornets trip up the Raptors. It's actually quite rare when the Raptors are doing to the Hornets what they did, with the previous game where they had the 2 blocks and the game winner. The usual Raptors-Hornets matchup goes Kemba Walker hits a game winner, Jeremy Lin hits a game winner, goes Jeremy Lamb hits 2 game winners in the year the Raptors won the championship. So, this is actually honestly historically closer to what it typically is. But, they went with a way more physical, way more aggressive group. Their second unit were the ones that were consistently pulling them back in the game. Guys like Moussa Diabate, whose activity was just insane. That's a guy the Raptors should really try to go after. I mean, Raptors have a lot of skilled players all of a sudden. They actually need a grinder like that. He was just, I can't say enough about him. He was fantastic. Not just contesting for rebounds, but getting stops. Doesn't really do much offensively except get offensive rebounds, but you don't really need that. He was playing all out. I think Jack pointed out the Bismack Biyombo comp. I mean, yeah, I could see that a little bit for sure. And then Colin Sexton, who is always been a dog, and today was massive. Hit a pull up 3 after dribbling around the clock, literally killed it the whole time, and then pulled up for 3 over Scottie Barnes, heavily contested. Right at the end there to make it a 2-point game, gave Charlotte so much energy. And in addition to sort of how tough he is just generally in terms of how much he's competitive and how much the whole group fed off of that. He felt like he was the head of the snake, which you don't expect going to Charlotte, but he was the head of the snake tonight. He was just an absolute bulldog. And then Con Knipple, the rookie, who right now the season ended, he will be rookie of the year. Actually had a pretty quiet game. I thought the Raptors did a decent job on him. Certainly wasn't the 25 and whatever that he had in Toronto against the Raptors. I thought the Raptors did a better job on him. But then at the last play, when they needed it the most, the Raptors up 104-101 after the Raptors already got gifted a break. They had gone up courtesy of an IQ jumper. But then on the other side, the Raptors fouled Bridges, who was an absolute menace. and should be in prison. But still okay, fine, absolute menace for what he did in this game too. He gets to an offensive rebound, goes for a putback, gets fouled, goes to the foul line. He misses the first one, makes the second one. So instead of it being tied after the foul, the Raptors actually get the chance to stay ahead. Scottie makes both free throws, switches both of them, puts the Raptors up 3, and the Raptors then at that point just need to not obviously give up a 3. And they go to Concanipple with a little, screen just to get him curling to the strong side corner where the inbound was coming in from. This is out of a timeout too. And Brandon Ingram switches onto Con, which is exactly the right play. You want to switch that when you see that. But for some reason, BI backed off a little bit and kept his hands down after Con hit him with the jab step after catching in the corner. And then, of course, credit to Con. He was, off balance. And so, I could see how he kind of caught Brandon by surprise there. But nevertheless, it looks pretty tough when just a little jab step, and then he rises up for, an offbeat 3 and goes up from the corner, and he's able to shoot it. Meanwhile, Brandon doesn't even have his hand up for that. So that ties the game. The Raptors then use their final timeout. They try to draw a play. There's enough time to do something. But again, the Hornets have been so physical, especially this lineup that they closed with. Basically, it was every dog that they have, put them on the floor. And, the Raptors barely get the inbound into Poeltl. Then Scottie and BI are in the same spot. Poeltl has to make a little nothing pass with his back to the basket to Scottie. Scottie feeds it to Brandon. Brandon tries to back up, even though he's already near half court. Then tries to take it off the dribble. Doesn't really get that deep with it. The shot that he hit over Pascal Siakam in the previous game. Brandon was able to, again, no timeout, whatever. But Brandon was able to take 2-3 dribbles even, get to his spot, and then step back away from Pascal. But that's probably a 18-footer. You know what I mean? This one was a 22-footer, just inside the 3-point line. Brandon tries to shoot over the smaller defender in Zion James, who is another rookie for the Hornets. And he does get a look off, and he's tall enough to shoot over him. I think Zion James is probably 6'5", 6'6", maybe at most. So Brandon does have the length to get over it, but he had kind of been off rhythm for most of the fourth quarter, I would say. And so when he got in the game and shot that shot, again, what are you going to do? You're not going to... The Raptors are not going to go to someone else for the crunch time shot right now, especially after he literally just hit a game winner, right? And he's coming off of 37 against Cleveland and the game winner there. But it just wasn't a lot of great motion. Again, this is especially after a timeout play. You would think that you would maybe get something a little bit more orchestrated. Credit to the Hornets for being physical and blowing up a lot of actions. But nevertheless, they couldn't really get much going, and ultimately got this contested jumper, not just by his man, but also by Scottie's man in Bridges, who rotates over and tries to come in for a late blind double. I don't even know if Brandon saw that. Nevertheless, Brandon shoots it just a little bit long. It was still makeable, which is kind of nuts because it's super contested, maybe a foot inside the 3-point line with 2 defenders on him with the game on the line. But ultimately, it goes long. It goes to overtime, and of course, all the momentum is on Charlotte's side. And still, the Raptors actually took the lead. Shout to Scottie for going in. No, Scottie posted up and then Jakob tipped it in or something. But the whole thing is the Raptors basically led literally the entire game. Literally the entire game. The Raptors consistently stayed ahead thanks to their strong start, but the Hornets kept chipping back. But every time the Hornets chipped back, the Raptors, Ben didn't break. Even it got close to 2, maybe 1 point. The Raptors still were able to put together runs to respond, and so they had to lead the entire game. So it was kind of the backbreaker when the Hornets made a 3. I believe who was it that made? Maybe it was Bridges. I made by Bridges, but when he hit the 3, that was the first lead with 3 minutes left in OT that Charlotte had all game. And at that point, you just kind of got that sense, yes, it's not going to be the Raptors' night. That wasn't the first time you felt that, but it felt the Raptors aren't even going to be able to steal this one. Because, once the Hornets got ahead, Raptors just couldn't really get back into it. I mean, granted, there was a play where Raptors got it to, Scottie had scored. Now it's a 4-point game. Then the Raptors got to stop. They tried to throw it ahead to IQ, and then IQ lost the ball. And at that point, it was probably 32, 33 seconds left. So if the Raptors scored a quick 2, and then they got another stop, they could potentially essentially have created a 2-for-1. But nevertheless, IQ fumbles the ball. And IQ had a couple of just uncharacteristic turnovers. IQ's a pretty low turnover guard, but he had that turnover and he had another one late in regulation as well. That really kind of took away all the wind in the sails. But yeah, like even prior to that, like at the end of the regulation, like the Raptors were up like 10, 12 points midway through the fourth quarter. You felt pretty good about it. Like I was like, okay, like the Raptors second unit came in, they did a good job. Mamu, um, like it's just that guys were doing well enough. Scottie was getting buckets. Scottie played a fantastic game in this one. And honestly, prior to their late cold stretch, like IQ and Brandon were also really, really good tonight. Um, but then they just had this like 5.5 minute spell where they just couldn't score. Meanwhile, the Hornets went on a 12-0 run. And it's like, yes, you can rely on your defense, but not when your offense goes that cold. And when you go back on it, it's like some of it was like IQ rushing a little bit. IQ always plays at a fast pace, so it's kind of hard to tell if he's rushing or if he's just missing. You know what I mean? But he missed like a pull up transition three. He missed a little runner late in the game. Brandon kept getting wide open shots where they kept starting Brandon. I mean, this is stuff they've been running for Brandon all year, but they put Brandon in the corner. They get him off of one, sometimes two screens, curling towards the middle. They get the guy at the point, throwing the ball to Brandon around that free throw line area, and he makes a choice. Is he going to drive in or is he going to shoot? He couldn't really get those to drop. I also got to credit the Hornets defense too. Again, Diabate in particular. I know a lot of people aren't even familiar with this guy. I think you should be familiar with him. He's like an incredible energy player. But his defensive impact there, where Brandon tried to go ISO against him late in the regulation, couldn't get anything to drop, basically was an air ball, like super contested. And then Scottie then tries the next play down to then intentionally post up an ISO against Diabate, and he shoots that thing long because it's also contested. It's like, I don't know, like the Hornets played tougher. The Hornets did play tougher, and even though the Raptors had the 2 days off, even though the Hornets were playing second half of back to back, Hornets kept getting stronger as the game went on. And honestly, I give I said at the top, but I give their coach a lot of credit because they never even went back to LaMelo. Not even just like for a couple offensive possessions, even after timeouts. The one where Khan hit the three, they didn't even put LaMelo in the game for that. You would think even as a decoy, you throw him in. They're like, no, the group like, I'm gonna dance with the girl that brought me here, and man, it's Colin Sexton. You know what I mean? He was leading the whole thing, and ultimately the Raptors lose. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating because we had really gotten accustomed to how well the Raptors have been playing, and honestly, a lot of stretches in this game we saw just more good stuff. Thought the start of the game was obviously awesome. The Raptors came out so sharp, so aggressive, so determined. That's when I tweeted out like, "Oh, Raptors look super confident. 9-game win streak, 2 days off. They just like they're dominating, and they were dominating. Like I think, I'm probably gonna see people like start to quote that, be like, "Oh, you lost to the Hornets." It's like I don't know. Like I go back and watch the first 5 minutes. Raptors were dominating, right? And I thought Scottie really, set the tone for that. I mean, Scottie had a fantastic game. Honestly, like this is like I admit it, this is like 100% money motor quarterback. But when Jakob got the ball, when it was tied at the end there, and Jakob got the ball out to Scottie, a part of me was like, yes, I want the ball to go to Brandon because he just hit the game winner and he is our closer. But man, like the way Scottie played in this one, like I wouldn't have minded if Scottie tried to take it. I mean, his matchup against Bridges, Scottie was able to score against him quite a bit. But yeah, I'm ultimately like, even putting that aside, I thought Scottie was just fantastic. Kind of throughout this game. I thought he set the tone early for the group. He got a weak side catch on on LaMelo, and he immediately ripped it, drove baseline and took it in for a 2-hand dunk. He had a double on LaMelo Ball right afterwards where he was helping IQ at halftime. At half court, they were really, really pressuring the ball as you would typically expect, and Scottie expended a lot of extra energy, just providing help on that front. He also got a little duck in transition, drew 2 defenders to him, and then dumped it off to Jakob for a little float shot. He had a catch and shoot 3 from the corner after Jakob short roll, kicked it out to the corner. He knocked that in. And he also had a post up where he just, like, I'm not kidding, he absolutely abused Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller's not a small guy. He's 6'9". He's a little skinnier, but like not even that skinny. And Scottie literally just buried him under the basket and took a little jump hook over him. That was all in like the first like 3 minutes before the Hornets called timeout. Like he just set the tone for the entire game. Over the course of the game, your usual help side blocks, pushing in transition. You saw Scottie with this like ridiculous move where it was early in the fourth quarter where they got the ball to Scottie in the post. Back down, and then turn over his right shoulder. He was on the left block. He turned over his right shoulder to spin baseline, and then used his left hand to throw in a bank shot off the glass. Like, I don't know. That was That was beautiful. That was some Tim Duncan thing right there. Like that was beautiful. Um, like he just consistently made great plays all night, and he was knocking down key free throws as well. The only time he really missed a free throw was after the game was pretty much already done in overtime, and he was pretty upset with him for that one as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like Scottie kind of played like close to a perfect game, and I want to be fair to like Brandon and IQ because obviously those two guys, like when you start winning and you start pulling like more people, like there's more people watching our stuff, there's more people watching the Raptors in general. When you start pulling people back in, like the expectation is like, okay, you're gonna win, you're gonna win, you're gonna win, you're gonna win, and it's like when you finally lose, like the people do kind of find scapegoats, and there's a difference between like a scapegoat and just like sort of talking about sort of who won and who lost, like. There obviously were misplays by IQ, like losing the ball. There were like misplays by Brandon to keep his hand down for the con three and just like miss, quite frankly, open looks, especially for him in the mid range down the stretch. And these guys are big boys; they'll understand that. But like, I think there's also like going too far and scapegoating them because like I feel like they also played really well over the course of the game to like put them in that position. I thought IQ actually, his on-ball creation has been much, much more important, especially with like RJ out the lineup. Jakob is mostly going to catch a shoot for three or maybe finish a couple of things around the basket on cuts and stuff like that, but he's not going to create anything, right? So, they're really having to rely on IQ to create. And I mean, again, like it's might be a little bit surprising. Honestly, it was a little bit surprising to me too when I looked at the final line and I was like, okay, 9 of 20 from the field, like that's not even that bad. Especially for 22 points. He just didn't get to the foul line much, but we could talk about that in a second. He had 10 assists as well to go along with it, so like it wasn't that bad. I think the more difficult thing for IQ was the late turnovers. The three that he was open, like I wanted to take the three, but maybe he like leaned in or rushed in a little bit. But I don't know, maybe the speed of the game, maybe he was tired end of the game, but still like an open three that I was fully expecting him to hit because he's been hitting a lot of clutch threes for the Raptors. And then dude didn't call five celebration to the bench. Like that was right there for him. He missed that. He missed the runner. But he also hit the go-ahead shot in at the end of regulation, or which was pretty big in that time as well. Way more contested than the other two shots that he just missed, but still a good shot to make. I think really for IQ it was just defensively, he just could not cope with the fact that the Hornets kept forcing switches, and maybe the Raptors didn't need to give up as many switches, or what I mean, like whatever. Like you don't necessarily have to switch, but ultimately the Hornets were attacking IQ on switches. They wanted Bridges posting onto IQ, and then I don't know. Like obviously it's tough to send help just because you're worried about the kickouts and what might happen from there. And the Hornets did do a good job keeping the right shooters on the one pass away and stuff like that. But I think if we had to play this game back and they were looking to attack IQ with Bridges in the post ups like that, like. You got to send more help than that. I mean, look, the Raptors, at the end of the game, they had the luxury because they had two guys that you don't really need to guard as closely in Moussa Diabate, and a lot of it, Zion James was on the floor. Like, Zion James, like, I think percentage-wise, he's actually okay, but, like, this one, he was airballing shots. Like, I'm okay doubling off of him, and I'm definitely okay doubling off of Diabate. Now, granted, like, you still have to account for them and rotate, but that's still better than just leaving your point guard out in there in the cold, against a guy who has like 50, 60 pounds on him. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, like you could blame IQ for that. I don't know. I don't really expect him to guard power forwards. I know we've got real spoiled with like Kyle guarding power forwards and stuff, but I don't know. This just ain't that. You know what I mean? I would have loved to see the Raptors send more help because it was like, dude, we're letting him do this like 3 plays in a row. With, again, one-on-one single coverage. And then the BI thing, I just felt like he was just missing, like, pretty makeable shots. I don't know if exhaustion kind of got to him a little bit. He ultimately plays 40 minutes in this one. It's probably a season high for him. Second half of back-to-back tomorrow, too. So, this loss, this was kind of the game to get. Like, the New York game was always going to be tough. Traveling second half of back-to-back. But, again, like, the Hornets... I don't know. I wouldn't even look at their record. I would just look at how they play the Raptors both times. Like they have been really, really tough, and I want to give them a lot of credit. And again, like it's not even like the Raptors could have game planned for something like this because ultimately, like you don't expect the Hornets to play that tough and that physical defensively, which they did, and that's ultimately the separating factor. Like when the Raptors go on a 5.5 minute cold stretch to end the game in regulation, like. like what else can you put that on? You know what I mean? Like that's the entire game right there. The physicality was there, and then you don't expect this type of closing lineup. Like you typically would think you can attack a couple of these guys, LaMelo, maybe even Brandon Miller. This game, you could definitely attack Brandon Miller, even Ryan Kalkbrenner. Even though he's a good shot blocker, mostly a drop big, so you can sort of play around with more space with your ball handlers going around screens. Like there was things to do, but the Hornets did a lot of good adjusting over the course of the game, and then I got to give them a lot of credit. They just like fought like crazy in this one, like especially Sexton. Like he looked like a madman. He had that like Westbrook level of like competitiveness, which all respect to him, but like I don't know anybody on the Raptors that have that type of dog in them, to be honest. But the other part too, and this was mentioned a lot. I think it was actually a much bigger factor in the first half. In fact, I know it was, but there was a crazy foul disparity going on in this game. Again, you're able to play way more physical when you don't have foul trouble, and also when you know your fouls aren't going to get called. But Raptors at one point had committed 17 fouls to Charlotte's 6. And the turning point was really Darko had to use a challenge in the third quarter after Jakobi like clearly stood in line for a charge. LaMelo charged into him, knocked him over. They called it a block. They like Darko went to the review. They overturned it. That actually would have been Jakobi's 4th foul, but it was like upon review, like clearly Jakobi was there, like well ahead of LaMelo, and so they reversed the call. So I tracked it. So when it was 17-6 in foul calls, the rest of that quarter it was 5-1 for 5 fouls for the Hornets and 1 on the Raptors, and then the rest of the game was kind of even from there. But it was kind of funny because like that one overturn kind of like balanced out the calls for a little bit, but it still made for this like ultra physical game where I think it really allowed the Hornets to really build momentum and just really sort of like establish how they were going to play. And then obviously down the stretch, you're not going to get any calls. You know what I mean? Like it was, it was physical. But again, like whatever. I guess if that's how they want to play it, that's how they want to play it. I thought it was just frustrating that the Raptors got called for way more of that stuff to begin the game than later in the game. And again, it is kind of funny that like I guess like a review is kind of like a call out for the referee in a way, like obviously like the Raptors actually went 2 of 2 on the reviews, which is great. But even the second one, they had to waste a review because the baseline referee right in front of the play, like it happened right in front of him. Grady was guarding Con Knipple driving baseline, and he slapped the ball off of Con's knee. Con looked guilty as hell. All the Raptors were like, "Yo, it's Raptor ball," and the referee's like, "No, it's Hornets ball." And I was just like, "Okay, now we have to waste our challenge on this." But whatever. Like that was a more of a minor concern. I think the other concern in this one was you just didn't really see much from the bench. The Raptors bench has been great in the season, and one of the key parts of this 9-game win streak is how much the bench has contributed. But similar to how the Pacers game went, where the Raptors' second unit actually got outplayed in that one as well, kind of by their version of Colin Sexton, which was TJ McConnell. This one, Colin Sexton obviously wins the matchup against Jamal Shead. It wasn't close. But you just didn't really see the same level of effectiveness for the Raptors second unit. Part of that actually is just a straight up downstream effect of losing RJ. That means you got to promote one of your guys in the starting lineup. This time they go with Jacoby Walter. But I also think that like that's not necessarily enough because like Jacoby outside of the last like 2 weeks has been like kind of the 10th man, right? So you lose your 10th man because of the depth. I think the bigger concern is that like you don't have that other score to sort of go with you. The second unit has been great at moving the ball, defending, sharing it, ball, like again, just like a lot of good ball movement. But in terms of actual finishers, you just didn't really see a lot of that. In fact, there was a lot of more frustrating moments where they would move the ball well, but then Grady would miss an open 3. They would move the ball well, and then Ochai would miss an open shot, like either an open corner 3, or he tried to go for baseline for a dunk, and he on a great cut, but he couldn't finish it. Like it's like stuff like that where you're like, man, you just didn't really see that toughness, especially compared to what the Hornets second unit was doing. Sandro did a great job of it. Sandro was scoring, but I thought the second unit, like honestly, most of it was just Sandro and Colin Murray Boyles like fighting for their life on the offensive glass against the Hornets. Like the Hornets were just like, even though the Raptors actually out rebounded the Hornets, like, it felt like the Hornets were like way more aggressive on the glass. Maybe that's just single handedly trying to box out Diabate, but like that's just what it was. It was just like CMB fighting for his life, literally, with Sandro down there. And like a lot of these guys just couldn't get the key rebounds there too. And I don't know, maybe that kind of exhausted them, or I don't know, maybe the early successes led teams to sort of scout it a little bit more. But you just didn't see the same effectiveness from Jamal, who goes 1 for 6 tonight, 1 of 5 from three. He hit an early three, which was great. That was part when the Raptors were rolling. But when the Raptors were in tough, you just couldn't see him. You know what I mean? And also, like, he really couldn't step to anything Colin was doing. Colin Sexton, I mean. CMB just was unable to go up around the basket. Like, he just straight up wasn't taking shots. It felt like. Um, and again, like, outside of Sandro, like, there wasn't really much of an effect. I do feel like in games like this, like, you do feel like that lack of a physical body and a presence. Like, that's one of my lasting impressions, and I feel like I'm a broken record by saying this like 3-4 times, but they just couldn't cope with the physicality in a lot of this, and you would have loved to essentially had like 48 minutes of center in this one rather than sort of like, okay, you have Jakob in the game, and Jakob did well, and Darko did a good job of like changing up Jak's sub patterns to sort of match up with, Jak was sometimes with the bench to sort of cope with the increased physicality off their second unit. But I don't know. You definitely felt like you needed a little bit more of that, and also think experience matters too, because the Raptors second unit, as much as you want to say, like, they're just mostly young guys, man, and like you compare that to like Sexton, who's been in the league like 5-6 years. Who's fought through a lot of different scenarios. Like, yes, he's been on tanking teams, and that he hasn't really been winning, but like that guy's been in. There's no real substitute for experience like that. You know what I mean? And I thought the kind of experience kind of won out there. So a myriad of factors, and yet the game was right there. It was there to be taken, and it is painful to see the Raptors lose. But hopefully the Raptors are able to take some lessons out of this, regather, regroup, and come back tomorrow night against the Knicks and get some sort of result. It's unfortunate because you really went really hard, like going kind of all out for this win, and you were right there for it, but you couldn't take it. And then the following night, even after overtime tonight, I mean, if I had to guess, like, Jakob Poeltl probably doesn't play because they've been holding him out of back-to-backs. So we'll even see if Jakob's able to play. But the Raptors also haven't got a win in MSG in like, I mean, I think ever since like the RJ IQ trade, right? So it's been a couple years the Raptors not winning in MSG. So, yeah, it does suck, But again, like, this is an 82 game season. The 9-game win streak was fabulous, and hopefully we're able to start it again. They're not going to be perfect, and honestly, if we had to be truthful about it, when you pull out so many clutch wins, part of that is also lucky, right? Like, you own the balance of a season, you're not going to win every clutch game you're in. And so Brandon wasn't able to hit the game winner like this time. The Raptors weren't able to get the clutch blocks like they needed to. And ultimately they faded in crunch time against the Hornets team that, again, I can't stress enough. They did not play like the Hornets all season. They played like a really, really good team. So we're going to take a quick break. Done enough yapping for now. And when we come back, I'll take a couple of your questions. And yeah, hopefully just wrap this thing up. Okay, welcome back to the program. I'm taking your comments. I'm looking through the chat right now. I mean, I could definitely see there's a lot of frustration. I mean, it's to be expected. Again, like, when you raise expectations and then you don't deliver even one time, people are gonna flip and change on you. It's I mean, it's just the world we live in. It's okay. I think people are just processing their emotions, right? Like, we're not always going to be like 100% rational or even fair. So, and I do think that the questions are definitely way spicier after losses than they are after wins. After wins, it's just like, yay, this guy's great. This guy's great. This guy's great. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, Okay. All right. So, first one is okay. So first one, we need more from Ochai and Grady. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like again, like when you think about next man up, it's they actually they have to do it. You know what I mean? Like I think that RJ going out, like it's a pretty big thing. I think there is this always this idea that RJ is kind of expendable, or we could try a different piece with RJ and whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying you gotta hold on to RJ like he's a franchise player. Like I'm not saying that, but I just think like people discard him a little bit too easily. Especially because I don't get the sense that like the replacements right next in line are like gonna step up in a huge way. You look at Jacoby, Grady Dick, Ochai Agbaji, right? Those are the guys who played all the shooting guard minutes tonight. Um, the three of them combined for 4 total baskets, right? Jacoby got 1, Grady got 2, Ochai got 1. It's not the same, and I don't know, like RJ, like obviously you're getting a better defensive performance, and I think that's part of why the Raptors have been defending better in the last couple games. Like you saw the the Pacers game, Raptors held them under 100. This one, I thought the defense was actually okay until the Raptors couldn't defend anymore. Maybe average, let's just say, over the course of the game. Giving up 118 with an overtime is actually not terrible, but like offensively, they've been struggling, man. And of course, like the next man up hasn't really been RJ's replacements. It's been more Brandon Ingram, more IQ. Maybe a little bit more Scottie too, but realistically more Brandon, more IQ. Those guys have been taking more of the shots, and it's not just like, oh, they're taking the shots like they're selfish. Like, no, man, I think they would pass more to these guys if they were again able to convert. And it's like RJ, not only is he obviously just definitely more offensively capable, but like it's a really underrated skill that RJ can give you 20 without you having to run plays for him. Like transition, the Raptors transition scoring has been down. Like RJ is obviously great at that. But RJ makes a lot happen out of nothing. You know what I mean? And in terms of converting open looks, he's basically like, I mean, he's kind of better than better than like Grady, better than like Jacoby on those, or even at least on par. You know what I mean? In terms of like open threes and stuff. There's always this perception that RJ can't do it. Like, yeah, like I think what's disappointing to me is I wish that with RJ going down, other guys ran with the opportunity, and then we can even have the conversation. We can even entertain the alternate, which is, hey, maybe the Raptors have something here, and then we can maybe use RJ to grab something else. Like that would have been like a little bit unfair to RJ, but again, like you could at least entertain the question. You can't even ask the question right now because the next guys aren't ready to contribute. Not only just like in a regular season setting, but like especially in a playoff setting or like a must-win setting. Like I just wouldn't. I don't know. Like these guys are still ultimately really young or just really not it. You know what I mean? So yes, we needed more from them tonight. Grady had some open threes. He couldn't knock those down. It's tough because Grady's only shooting like 5 times a game. You know what I mean? But so the difference between like 2 of 4 or 2 of 5 from like versus like 1 of 5 is like a good game versus a bad game. So it's hard to live on those margins. I thought his activity defensively was good and he was disruptive, but that he's never going to be like that much of a positive on the defensive end. It's never going to be like, I'm going to hang my hat on Grady's defense. It's mostly about the spacing. It's mostly about the off-ball movement. And again, most importantly, it's about can he make the shots? And, he had a couple of great sequences there where the Raptors just couldn't get him to convert on those. More concerning to me is Ochai. If I think at the end of the first shift that Ochai played, he came out the floor and Jack was like, "Hey, great shift by Ochai." And then I look at the end of the game, 1 of 5 in 16 minutes. Like he had the open threes, he couldn't knock them down in the corner. He's just been like really in a funk this season. Last I checked, it was like 1 of 15 from 3. I don't know what it's at right now, but definitely not improved tonight. And then the other play that was really concerning was like, okay, they moved the ball well, they got it to Ochai on a great 2 passing sequence. Ochai goes to the rim, tries to dunk, and then he just gets stuffed at the rim by Kalkbrenner. It's like the whole thing with Ochai is, okay, ideally he's a guy who can hit an open corner 3, a guy who can then use his athleticism, like cutting to the basket, maybe in transition, sort of like in a unguarded sense, you know what I mean? Like guys setting him up and then using athleticism to like finish and convert opportunities. But the thing is, he's also kind of small for that. Like, you know what I mean? You would maybe want your athletes to be like, okay, if you're going to play a guy purely like that, you probably want him to be like 6'8", maybe even 7 feet. You know what I mean? Like, he's 6'4", right? So, like, even though he has ups and he can definitely go up, and he had the best dunk second best dunk. Ingram on Kalkbrenner was the best one. But the second best dunk where he had the reverse, he changed hands midair and he dunked it. But like, he's just kind of like such a nothing burger on offense. And I feel like right now, in addition to that, he just looks like he's struggling with the confidence. So I'm not even trying to disparage him, but you just didn't really feel a sense of replacement. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, because of that, you just also feel the second unit is thin. Because a lot of the guys in the second unit can't really get it. You know what I mean? They can't really get it. They always need Scottie to parent them, and they need Brandon to parent them. And in this case, like RJ with some of these guys really, really, I mean, just again, like, I don't know. Why am I making this longer than it needs to be? Grady, Ochai, Jakob play the shooting guard minutes. They gave you 4 buckets. A lot of the game was lost there. RJ. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of RJ talk there. So, but yeah, I mean, I've always been sort of like more pro RJ than sort of the on average, let's say. Like I see a lot of value in what he does, even though his advanced metrics I've never really liked what he does anymore. Not happening in terms of the Knicks game tomorrow in terms of winning, but if it does slander pod, I mean, it would be pretty funny if the Raptors came off of this loss and then went back and won it. RJ, by the way, has been warming up and stuff and getting more on-court work in, so it seems like he's gonna come back soon. But yeah, it's it was a tough one. Ochai and Grady equal 10 mil, which equals a decent playoff bench player. Yeah, I mean, again, if the Raptors want to make a move going into, what looks to be a surprise playoff run, if they see an opportunity to add to the roster, not just for this year, but maybe to the roster in general, if they want to be more competitive, like, you can wait for guys to develop, or you can sort of trade them for the guys that you want them to develop into. That's always how I felt with. Well, that's what the Raptors did, right? They were always like, okay, we hope JV can develop into a Marc Gasol type. Like, the Raptors wanted Marc Gasol over like 2014. I mean, everyone wanted him then. He was an all-star. But they were kind of like low-key hoping he would turn into that. Well, in a way he did, right? Because that was the trade. And then they were like, okay, we're waiting on T. Ross. Give him an extension. Now he's got some value. But, he's kind of like, okay, I don't know if I can trust him. Turn him to Serge Ibaka. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the biggest example was, man, I wish DeMar could perform in the playoffs like a Kawhi Leonard can. Well, you could just make the trade, and they made the trade. So, like, if the Raptors have an MO, and I know Masai's gone, but Bobby's still here, and the rest of the front office is still here, like, that's kind of their MO, right? So, I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I'm also for their sake, I hope it happens. Like, I hope Ochai gets better, and I hope Grady gets better. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot cheaper for your guys to turn into those guys than it is to sort of bring them in on your own. If Nick Richards is available, I'd like to see what his trade value is. I mean, probably. Yeah, I mean, both Mark Williams and Nick Richards are with Charlotte right now. Or not, well, sorry, well, they were with Charlotte. They're with Phoenix right now. Phoenix does have a lot of centers, and you would think they probably want to clear out one of the new centers they brought in, just so they can give Colin Malawach some minutes eventually. They did take him 10th overall, but he doesn't even play. So, Mark Williams is actually be fantastic for them. And then they usually like to go smaller with like Osei Godaro on the second unit. But yeah, I mean, sure, why not? I don't think he's like that good defensively, but still a big body and finishes well around the basket. So wouldn't mind that. Again, I just would like to see the second unit get bigger. You know what I mean? It feels like the second unit comes in, and the Raptors starting unit's pretty big, but second unit comes in and they're just like kind of small. B-Ball Doc says, why don't they put Mamu at power forward instead of Shed in overtime? That was interesting to me, was the Raptors, so they had Jacoby, with the starting lineup, and then they had the starters close the game, like pretty standard. But then when the overtime started, they switched out Shed in for Jacoby. Now, granted, one thing that the Raptors haven't been doing much of is that 2 point guard lineup with Shed and IQ. I don't know, the last game didn't really do it much. This game didn't do it basically at all until that point. I don't know. It just felt weird. Like, Jamal kind of felt like he wasn't really into the game either. Like, he made a couple I mean, you rarely see Jamal like screw up his help assignments, but he was like late to switch and he had to commit a foul. You just don't see that happen from him much. He's like much more on the ball, much more sharper. You just didn't really sense a great deal of confidence with him checking into the game for Jacoby late. It made the Raptors smaller as well. I thought Jacoby actually did okay guarding. Like, I mean, Jacoby obviously didn't score, but like he's basically the whole thing is go out there and guard and get a rebound. Like, and yeah, I thought he actually did an okay job with that. If they wanted to go bigger, they could have put Mamu out there. That is true. Yeah. What would that have done for you? So let's say, okay, so let's say you put Mamu in at power forward. So then the matchups are IQ on Sexton. You would have Brandon on Knipple. You would have Scottie on Bridges, I suppose. You would have Mamu on like whoever, like the fifth guy was like Sion James maybe, or even Brandon Miller at times, and then you would have Jakob on Diabate. Like maybe, I mean, the biggest issues is that they kept getting hurt on mismatches with Bridges onto IQ, and yes, obviously having more size on the floor could help you in terms of like help side rebound, like defense and stuff like that. But ultimately, the I think the bigger issue is the Raptors just sent no help side defense, so they just lived with the 1-on-1, which obviously, I mean, the guy had 35 points at the end of the day. Like you probably need to stop him, especially in a mismatch. So yeah, that's a tough one, man. Yeah, advanced metrics don't tell entire stories in tangibles. There's a lot of things that advanced metrics aren't telling you, man. Especially the ones that are publicly available. Like I'm sure teams have better ones than the ones that are publicly available, but like, yeah, it's cool. Like it kind of gives you like a sense of like, it kind of gives you a sense of like roughly what's happening, and if you really needed a shorthand to sort of like amalgamate all the production into one thing, you can kind of get a sense of like, okay, who's doing more or who's doing less. But ultimately, there's just so much that goes into it that like, yeah, no, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's part of the reason why like the if you listen to my shows, like I've never really been heavy on those. Part of the reason is that like I think people can kind of use that to sort of push whatever stories that they want to, and I really do prefer to just watch the game, take some notes, rewind if I need to, see what happens on the play, notice some tendencies, and try to relay that to you. Um, yeah. Who's on the Raptors all defensive lineup, and why don't we play it on defensive final possessions? I think it depends on the matchup. I don't really mind Jamal in some of these moments. Jamal's more of a disruptor than he is necessarily a stopper. Um, and I think like Jacoby weirdly is more of a stopper. And maybe not as disruptive, although certainly has been pretty disruptive. Um, Jakob would definitely be on there. Scottie would be on there. And then you would have BI on the floor as well. Brandon, his best defensive moments have come like helping at the rim, like, extending and blocking shots. Sometimes he's even diving on the floor, but realistically, he's not going to strip the ball from you. I think Brandon's defense has gotten better over the course of the season, especially since the start of the season when he's getting pushed around. But he also made that big mistake where he kept the hand down against Khan. That was tough, man. You would think again, like Khan's being shorter and stuff, like you got to keep the hand up. He's in the corner, like he tries to dribble around you, like you have help. You know, what I mean, he's coming from the worst spot on the floor. Then what he's looking for is a three. I mean, that was a brain fart. They needed to put the hand up. Like there's no real need. Um, yeah. Do I think RJ is the third best player? Ah. Yeah, no. I think Jakob is their third. Well, best is different than most important. Jakob is their third most important player, but um, yeah. The thing is, RJ, like, okay, so I think people. How do you describe RJ? RJ is so funny because he tries to do a lot, and because he tries to do a lot, and he's not always converting at the best rate, he also will make more mistakes. And so if you're just looking at like if you're more adverse, I feel like people. Well, that's not even true. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think like it's one of those things in basketball where you can just kind of just hide and be a fifth guy and not really make a lot of mistakes and not really have much of a say on the game. Like RJ wants to have a say in the game, and part of that competitiveness leads him to be aggressive a little bit too much sometimes, and obviously you don't want that. But ultimately, that guy's still a very positive impact to the game, and I think especially the Raptors, the way they're built, like I think they need that. They need what he does, and defensively, whatever. Like honestly, I think he's actually been better defensively this year. I mean, whatever. Like he's not a stopper either, but yeah. Is RJ the third best player? Honestly, he's often your third best player. Sometimes he's your second best player. You know what I mean? So. What else? Yeah, Jamal's been pretty quiet the last couple games. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Jamal really hasn't had the same impact. I don't know what it is. I might have to look a little bit more carefully at it, but yeah, he just has not been impactful. Even the assists are down. He's just not really making that many plays, and quietly, he really, really was carrying a lot of that second unit hit on Mabu. So, um, yeah, it's it's tough. IQ is giving me D'Angelo Russell vibes. Yikes! Come on, man. I mean, I don't. I'm not gonna say no in this game, but there was a little bit of that. Um, yeah. Let's get a. Oh, actually, I don't. I wouldn't. That would have been interesting. Actually, should have ran Scottie at the 5. They could have done that. They could have done Scottie at the 5, and then they put I guess like Jakob off the floor. Maybe you put Mamu. So essentially, you're swapping Mamu for Jakob. To me, I'm just like, you already had a lot of issues rebounding, and I felt like Jakob's size was like the best matchup against Diabate. Like, I know it's crazy to talk this much about this guy, but he was that impactful. Um, no, I think there's more of a tactical thing. I think the Raptors really should have sent more help to help IQ in the post when they had a mismatch. So, um, yeah. Jamal has been scouted. Yeah, possibly. Yak clogging the paint, getting worked by Diabate. Yeah, maybe, but also like, I don't know. I just felt like I just felt like, I don't know, like even though he wasn't getting that many offensive rebounds, I felt like he was like way working like Mamu way more than Jakob. I don't know. I didn't really think of Jakob as the issue in this one. I mean, again, you could always second guess. Like I'm it's totally a possible thing. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I think the biggest thing is they switched a lot. So it's not even necessarily clogging the lane. Like, okay, they're helping off of Jakob. There's double teams. Like, it's mostly they switched a lot, and then they were really physical. And outside of Scottie playing through it, like the rest of the Raptors couldn't cope with that. Brandon Ingram, IQ included. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, maybe Mamu comes in the game, knocks down a 3. You never know. You never know. But I can't necessarily say that for sure. We also had $5 sent in. Shouts to DuckDuck2166. I understand Brandon's the first option for this game, but we should have gone to Scottie. It would have been interesting. I mean, I think the thing is, you're probably not going to get all the way to the basket. Scottie was doing most of his damage at the basket, mostly in single coverage. Again, I would have liked it. I really wouldn't have no issues with Scottie have taken the last shot. Like Scottie was the best player tonight, and he played great. There is kind of a pecking order, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like the debate people have in baseball, like maybe the 8th inning guy should have closed it out versus like the 9th inning guy. Always closing out just on ceremony, but I don't know. On a random game in Hornets, I guess the Hornets, I'm sure they were just like, hey, Brandon, you just hit a game winner. Let's run the same type of thing. Because they got Brandon on the left side of the floor trying to shoot a 1 dribble pull up. Tyler Mackey sends in $7. Thank you, Tyler. Says just one unlucky loss. We'll bounce back. Though Scottie should have gotten a chance with the ball late because BI was missing some shots. It's kind of a similar answer. And yeah, honestly, it's totally possible. Worst closer, BI tonight or Jeff Hoffman game 7. Yo, Parappa the Raptor, man. Why are we doing this, man? Losing is already tough enough. We don't need to bring up all of that. Maybe it's because I'm wearing Jay's colors or something. Nah, man, come on, dog. We can't do this to BI. He literally just hit the game winner the night before or the game before. And also I feel bad for Jeff because like I guess he's known for blowing a save, but like he was fantastic all playoffs, man. I don't know. I guess if you give up a home run in game 7, you give up a home run in game 7. It is what it is. It is what it is. Scottie was open once Ingram was doubled. Yeah, that's totally possible. Ingram's like a later-ish passer out of double teams. He's not necessarily like a early passer out of double teams. If he had recognized that he came over, Scottie would have been open at the top. But I don't know, man. Like it's yeah, I don't know. Wow, yeah, you're really breaking down. No. I mean, like, I guess we really are breaking down like every single detail after a loss like this. Like, there were a lot of mistakes, man. Not just the last couple plays. How do I feel about the Fred interview and him talking about the threats during the Philly series? Yeah, if you remember, I think Fred was like 1 of 18 maybe in the Philly series. Over like 7 games. It was kind of nuts. Like, look. I remember. Look at this. Look, we just lost a game in November against the Hornets, and it's not even a cup game. It's just straight up a regular game. They lose against the Hornets after a 9-game win streak that was like super exciting, and we're breaking down every detail. Meanwhile, like you amplify that to the million when it's like you're in the playoffs, you're in a really tough series against Philadelphia, and you need help. Like there was like maybe 3 guys playing well in that series, Kawhi being like 2 of those guys. So, yeah, like people are gonna have emotional reactions. I mean, obviously, like sending death threats is insane, like in any context, but especially in a sporting context. But we live in this unfortunate world where people have access to people. People kind of like have this veil of anonymity, and they're saying things to people that they don't care, or they just want to get a rise out of people. Like, that's just like an unfortunate reality of sports fandom these days, and I don't even really know how you would root that out. Fred's a big guy; he understands how that is. I don't even think it's a call out. I think it's just like a reality. I'm sure there's probably some like psychos right now sending crazy shit at Brandon and IQ. Like it sucks. Like it really does suck. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I guess you can't really control the darkness, and people want it to be like just you can't really control depraved behavior. You can only just sort of like hope that decency wins over. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Fred was all time bad against the Sixers. I mean, basketball wise, there was no doubt. I think he mentioned at one point, he's like, maybe we're calling for Jeremy Lin. I was like, that might have been me. He might have saw a tweet of mine where I'm like, maybe we tried Jeremy Lin. Hey man, Fred, I'm more than happy to tell you to your face and on this podcast. Yeah, it was not the right call to potentially try Jeremy Lin. With all due respect to my Asian American brother, that was no man. We should have stuck out with Fred, and obviously it all worked out, right? So it's chill, man. It's chill. It's chill. Honestly, I get it. I won't be truly happy until I have Mark Davis's head. There's something about it, man. There's something about him. I don't know. There's something very irritating looking at Mark Davis. I don't know. Maybe it's because if for longtime Raptor fans, if you guys remember this, Raptors lost, I believe. Oh, who did they lose to? Maybe OKC. But there was a game in after the Raptors lost at the end there, and like Dwayne Casey got tossed, Terrence Ross got tossed, DeMar maybe got tossed as well, where Mark Davis and his crew had to be escorted off the court by security. There's a crazy screen grab of this. Probably happened like 2017. And I guess ever since then, I've just been like Mark Davis, and it just reminds me of that moment. But shouts to Raptor fans, man. Shouts to Raptors. Yeah, OKC 2018. Yo, man, nobody, see? I mean, I guess nobody really doubted my ball knowledge. My Raptor ball knowledge is on 1,000, man. Come on, man. Hey, well, what the Raptors 905 doing? I see a lot of people commenting Raptors 905. I've been watching a little bit of Raptors 905 as well. Shouts to the 905. Let me look at the scores. Hold on. Let me put up the Raptors 905 scores for y'all. Just, hey, at least somebody won tonight. Oh, Raptors 905, Long Island Nets. Raptors 130, 905 130, 102 for the Long Island Nets. Can I get a box score for this? Yes, I can. Let's see here. We got what? We can't even get the points column here. What's going on here, man? What do people use for? I'm not gonna use Sofa Score for 905 games, am I? Yeah, why not? Yo, can someone just link me a box score to this game? I don't know why it's impossible to get a good one here. What's happening here, man? Why can't I get a box score? Bro, what the hell? Hey, listed under BA? Yo, what? Okay. That's a good call here. Okay, Raptors win in the G League at least. Raptors are undefeated in there. They're 7-0. Okay, I see it. Yeah. AJ Lawson with 14, Mobile with 18, Olivier Sarr with 17, 22 for Elijah Martin. Yo, Elijah's been playing great, man. Elijah's tough. I don't know. Elijah really would have done well in a game like this because I want to see aggressive players versus Elijah because Elijah's not gonna back down from nobody. He's like a tough. He's not Colin Sexton because like Sexton has like a next level, but he got a little bit of that in him, man. Like I really wanted to see how Elijah would have fared in a game like this. And again, like, it's funny. The Raptors are stacking a lot of shooting guards. You know what I mean? If you look at the Raptors, the 3 two-way guys, like, it's Chucky Hepburn, who obviously is a point guard, but you have Elijah and you have AJ down there as well. It's less like Raptors got so many shooting guards. It's like, are you planning to trade some shooting guards for something else? Because you have then shooting guards to step up, because we relieve over the span of like 4 or 5 years. Maybe this is just the scars of the previous roster building. It's like we went from having 1 shooting guard in Gary Trent to like having like 7, maybe 8 in the pipeline. It's kind of nuts. But yeah, I like Elijah a lot, man. I'm looking forward to, hopefully these guys get a chance to play. I think honestly the Raptors being good early on, like, is great. Like, it's great. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I think it kind of caught them by surprise, because I think they probably had more of a developmental sort of window on this season. They probably wanted to see how it would go and see if the Raptors could win, and the turned out that the Raptors can compete and the Raptors can win. But it has really limited opportunities, and I do feel like guys like Elijah, even Chucky, like, they kind of missed the boat on Raptors being a development team for basically like a half a year, because the Raptors last year were doing a lot of this. Like, it's like Chucky and Elijah would have played a lot of minutes in the Raptors tank, and now they don't really get a chance to do so. So, yeah, Martin's a winner. Yeah, I like Martin a lot, man. He's a great personality too. If you ever get a chance to listen to a Elijah Martin interview, I mean, actually, we interviewed him. I interviewed him on in the summertime, so you can just check our channel for that. But yeah, he's tough as hell. So, all right, well, I mean, when we got to talking 905, like, it's probably time to wrap this thing up. So now we need 8 bigs in the pipeline. Yeah, honestly, maybe even I'll take 1 or 2. You know what I mean? I'll take 1 or 2. Sar, I guess we have Sar. I mean, he's not really, the Raptors don't technically have rights to him in terms of, like, there's not a 2-way, but I guess the Raptors could sign him. He's a free agent, but I don't know. He's not really like a true 5 either. You know what I mean? He's kind of like a small ball 5. He's like, yeah, he's kind of like if Mamu had more shot blocking, but way less ability to drive and finish. So I guess he's not like Mamu at all. Never mind. Okay, Joe. Let's go to the 3 stars and wrap this thing up, because I'm excited to go back to playing more PlayStation. Ghost of Yote has been fantastic. My goodness, man. I'm trying to hunt down the Oni. Okay, all right. Your 3 stars from tonight's performance. I mean, pretty straightforward, really. Scottie Barnes is your 1st star. 30 ball for Scottie, 30 points, 11 to 16 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3, 7 of 8 from the foul line. Honestly, Scottie's like flirting with like 50, 40, 90 right now. It's kind of incredible. A lot of that is just could be more selective with shooting threes, but yeah, man, he's been way more efficient kind of on all jumpers, which is great. But the free throws are great for him too. 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. Yeah, played a fantastic game. Unfortunately, the Raptors couldn't get it done. It's not to say Scottie didn't make some mistakes too, but ultimately, yeah, like he played awesome in this one. 2nd star, I know this is controversial, but I'll still give it to IQ. He made a lot of mistakes down the stretch, and that's what people are gonna remember. But 22 points, 10 assists, was consistently generating offense for the team. I thought he made some good passes. Honestly, defensively, he was fine until he wasn't, and they started picking on him. But yeah, I know. Boom if you want, but IQ really did have a decent game in this one. If you're not just looking at crunch time. Last 10 minutes, nobody had a good game, okay? Let's just be honest about that. And then your 3rd star, man, give it to the BI on the 22 points and 10 to 26 shooting is nasty. The thing I think for him is he just couldn't get to the foul line at all. I mean, whatever. We have this foul discussion all game in terms of why the Hornets got twice as many free throws as the Raptors, if that changed the game, which probably it did. If you don't want to give it to Brandon, let's give it to Sandro. 13 points off the bench for Sandro, more than all the other bench players combined. So, yeah, it was a tough one, man. Not a lot of good stuff in this one. Jakob, by the way, nearly had a triple-double. 8 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, a block. If you want to give it one to him, you can. You know what? Hold on. Let's shuffle it. Scottie will get the 1st star. Jakob get the 2nd star. Sandro get the 3rd star. I feel like it's, I've been bullied out of the IQ brand of getting stars. Yak did do a good job, like, playmaking a lot in this one. They do a lot of, like, get the ball to Yak and then start cutting when their offense is stuck. And more than anything else, I thought Yak's physicality was very important in this game. So they kind of needed his size a lot in this one. So I'm curious to see if they plays tomorrow against the Knicks. But before we even get there, your Gerald Henderson award, man. Okay, it really is Sexton, but I really want to give it to Moussa Diabate, man. You know what? Screw it. It's my show. I'll do it. I don't care. Yeah, Diabate, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, just everywhere, man. Just everywhere on the defensive end. And you just felt like you were just watching him nonstop, which I guess he was in the game a lot, 30 minutes, but he had a huge impact and huge stops. And yeah, credit to him, man. So anyway, yeah, I'm curious to see if Yak plays tomorrow against the Knicks. Hopefully the Raptors are able to get right back on the horse and continue another win streak, but it's a tough one. They couldn't win tonight. They can't win them all. And honestly, tonight was winnable, but they couldn't get away with it. It happens. Raptors, it's as good as they are in crunch time in general. The best thing to do is to do what the Raptors did at the start of this win streak, which is to beat teams by double digits, so you don't have to crunch time at all. Stress-free wins. Let's get a couple more of those back on the menu. But that's it for tonight's pod. Thanks everyone for listening. Like the stream on the way out. And yeah, we'll catch you tomorrow night when the Raptors play once again on the road. So catch you guys then. See you.